Welcome to Straight Out of Savannah, where the magic happens. I am super excited. My guest, Joe Adkins, is here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She said to me, wellness is a passion best achieved by empowering people. She specializes in wholeness, wellness, combining the elements needed for each individual to create the best possible version of their life. As a business owner and wellness practitioner since 1983, she is able to give decades of experience in creating and maintaining wellness in the four aspects of life. She began learning from and training with many experts and authorities in healing, communication, health, and wellness. She found and explored exciting breakthroughs in intuitive healing. Then in 1985, she used what she learned to develop and found Psi-Quanta, which is the art of empowerment. Using the practical application of intention combined with self communication, emotional understanding, and critical thinking upgrades the personal experience. She's an ordained spiritual ambassador, intuitive mentor, and healer. She's a best selling author, mentor, and speaker, the intuitive observer. So please welcome Joe Atkins to the show.
Hi, Tammy. It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very grateful.
So let's talk a little bit about your work because you've been a wellness practitioner since 1983. How was your understanding of personal power evolved over the decades? And what does spiritual authority look like for you now in midlife?
What a lot of people don't understand is how truly amazing they are. And the way that everything has really worked for me in my levels of understanding is just how important each individual person is when it comes to creating the world that we live in. And it starts with creating an empowered lifestyle for ourselves and our families, and then reaching out to friends, communities, and going from there. What I think I love most about my journey in wellness is the fact that there's always something to learn, and yet the information is always so old. The information is ancient, but the wisdom and the ways that we can apply it are always new and exciting. It's this beautiful cycle that at its very core is based in self-love and intention. And bringing all of those aspects together over the years has been very important to me because I love seeing people thrive. I love seeing people healthy, and I love seeing people understand their own empowerment in a way that allows them to legacy build almost on autopilot once you have the core pieces in place.
That is powerful, and that is absolutely the best. I feel like that so much of that is when we do this type of work is seeing people at their highest potential, not at whatever place they think they're at.
Both at the same time,
Yeah,
so it can get a little tricky.
yeah,
We all have moments. Okay, life is just a series of moments.
yeah.
And in some of those moments, we're at our best. And in some of those moments, we're at our worst, and everywhere in between. The key is actually, it was taught to me by a little girl in a grocery store.
Don't you love
There-
those moments?
I love those moments. This little girl, she was maybe, I don't know, 3 to 5 years old, and she sounded like I felt. She was just sobbing and crying and screaming, and I could tell that it was just in pure frustration. It was that tone of ah! that only a child can make. And I remember pausing and I saw her mother at wit's end, and I realized a key piece of information that I had missed which was interesting because I have experienced the moment that child was having on more than one occasion. From childhood to adulthood, we have these moments. And I just remember pausing, looking at her, and then I looked to her mother for permission. And her mother was basically begging me, I don't care, just do it. And so when the little girl finally realized I was looking at her, I didn't say anything until she looked at me. She started to dry her eyes a little bit and she was like, what? And I said, sweetheart, I know exactly how you feel. And she just wiping her little eyes and she's, you do? And I was like, yeah, baby. I said, the day you're having today, I said, how you feel right now, I said, that was me yesterday. I said, and I'm still feeling some of it today. And she's, what did you do? Innocent question, right? What did you do? And I told her, I said, it was really rough for a few minutes. You have to understand, adults, it's a little bit different. We're expected to just automatically, once we hit a certain age, know how to control everything that we're feeling. I said, it doesn't really work that way. It's expected. It doesn't work that way. I had to really do some things to work through it. To be honest with you, it was a little tough. It's doable. It just takes practice. I've had a lot of practice. It just takes practice. I said, but I do know exactly how you feel. And I'm like, do you want to talk about it? And she's, yeah, I really do. I said, is it okay to talk to me? And she looked at her mom and her mom nodded. So we just started talking about emotion in the middle of a Trader Joe's grocery store. I kid you not, it was right next to the flowers. And we're having this conversation.
Hmm.
And I noticed people starting to pay attention. There were people hanging out on fringes and they had literally shoved their carts, and people were just hanging out in groups listening to me talk to this little girl. And the mom was just, her eyes are darting around and just trying to figure out what's going on. And this little girl really starts explaining. And I'm like, okay, that's frustration. And I told her, I said, I know something that may help if you're interested. And she's sure. And so I said, okay. I said, sweetheart, close your eyes. And in your lap, I want you to imagine every single emotion that you feel is a little teeny tiny wolf cub, just a cute, fuzzy, innocent little baby wolf. I said, and just imagine all of them just playing on your lap. And she says, okay. So she does that. And I said, now, I said, the wolf where you feel love and you feel joy and you feel all these happy things that you feel good and you want more of. I said, these wolves, when you pay attention to them and you teach them how to identify things, become your identification for things that are good. I said, and the things that make you sad or hurt, I said, and there's different kinds of hurt. We have physical hurt, we have emotional hurt, we have frustration. I'm like, everything when you feel like you're in danger, I said, those are all warning you about something bad. I said, here's what people don't tell you about emotion. They should tell you when you're a kid. I said, each one of these little wolves is going to grow up at the same rate you grow up. I said, so what happens, you identify them and you nurture them and you listen to everything each little wolf has to tell you when you feel something. As you grow up, you're going to have a pack of very well trained, beautiful wolves watching your back and helping you understand and navigate the world around you while keeping a loving heart. I said, if you ignore them or you suppress them or you just shove them out of the way because they're inconvenient to deal with at any given moment, I said, you're going to wind up with a pack of rabid dogs that are going to trip you up, nip your heels, and make you fall down and hurt yourself. I said, so honestly, which one would you rather have? And she puffed out her chest and she's, I want the big, pretty ones that protect me. And I'm like, I do too. And I said, but can I let you in on a little secret? And she's, yeah. I said, mom's having a really hard day too. And she looked at her mother in a very accusing look. It was like, why didn't you tell me that? Very upset. And her mother was like, sweetie, I knew you were having a hard time and I didn't want to upset you or make anything worse. This little girl stood up in the cart and she put her hand on her mother's shoulder and she said, "But mommy, we could have made each other feel better together."
Oh my goodness.
And I said, part of being family is being honest about emotion. I said,
Yeah.
so from now on, maybe when your mommy's having a bad day, she can just say, "Hey, honey, I'm having a rough time. Can we handle things this way or that way?" I said, and if you start having a rough time, just ask your mom to help you make it better. I said, because the more you communicate and train your wolves, the stronger your pack's going to be.
That's so cool.
And, but what a valuable lesson.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that I have put into my work has come from experiences that I've had with children that are under the age of 10. I tell everybody, and this is the absolute truth, people. If you have a problem, take a breath. Now, the way you take a breath is you just close your eyes for a moment. You breathe in on a 4 count. You hold it for a 4 count. You breathe out on a 4 count and you hold it for a 4 count. And you do that 3 or 4 times to get yourself really nice and centered. Okay. And then you go into yourself and you think about what you were like and what your thoughts were like when you were about 4 years old. And then when you get grounded in your 4 year old mentality, you take another look at your problem and you solve it. Most problems unravel when you try to solve them like a 4 year old. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how. I have no clue. I just know that's how it works.
What if you work with someone like me that doesn't remember any of that stuff?
But you felt it.
Like even when you were saying that and I was thinking about that, I said, I remember very little of any of that stuff.
But we don't hold common fallacies that we hold all of our memories in our brain.
Ah,
Not true. Every cell in your body has stored memory.
yeah.
It remembers
That.
experience, it remembers injury, it remembers love. Every cell has things that are stored that you remember. And just because you can't remember an actual conscious memory doesn't mean you've lost the skills that you've had. If you couldn't remember anything from that time, you'd be a vegetable.
I say very
So,
little.
on a genetic level, it's there. So, if you want to tap into it, just do the 4 count breathing. And if the 4 count's not enough, do an 8 count.
Yeah, eight
And when
count
you
is
open your eyes, look
intense.
up and to your left, and then just take another deep breath and just allow yourself to look at the problem like it's not a problem. Remember the story of the Gordian knot?
I don't,
Okay.
but
Alexander the Great nearly took over his portion of the world. But there was a knot that was created that was so complicated that whoever solved the knot was the person who was meant to rule the world. Now, Alexander really irked me because instead of solving the knot like a normal person, okay, now I say normal person loosely because technically I'm not a normal person.
yeah.
Chains, scarves, ropes, whatever. It's if there were Christmas lights, if there was a knot, people would just shove it to me from the time I was a kid and say, "Here, unravel this." And in a couple of minutes, it would be completely unraveled. And I was fine with that. And I always wanted to solve the Gordian knot because ever since I heard of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, what an amazing thing. And he does the warrior thing and cuts it with his sword. And of course, the knot falls all apart. Okay, that Alexander just proved there's more than one way to solve a problem. However, it's did he cheat? Not really. It was creative problem solving, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, give me that knot. I want to see if I can solve this just because it's a knot. But the point that the story made is there's always more than one way to approach something. And sometimes a problem really isn't a problem. It's just something we don't want to deal with at the time.
And that, woo, that's a mouthful because there are so many people that think about that. And for me, when I hear problem, I already hear solution on the other side.
Me too.
And I just don't, yeah,
Well, the
think
word
that,
problem technically, I guess technically is math language. We solve problems.
yeah.
They give you a mathematical equation, which is technically a problem. To me, the word problem is actually math language, and I'm not real fluent in math language. I can comprehend some of it, but some of it's a little alien to me. But
See, and I
the
do
word,
like it. I love math. I was a person that was one of the degrees that I considered going to school for was math. I really did. Okay, so first I wanted to be, first it was a doctor, okay. And then I decided I wanted to be a sports journalist because I love
okay,
sport and I like to
okay,
write. So I was like, I'll be a sports journalist. And then I thought I can major in math because I love math. The only math I didn't love was geometry. Everything else, I love calculus, all of it. I loved it.
yeah,
All of it. I did. I
yeah,
did. I was like, wow. But coming in this side from the right brain to the left brain, sometimes it can be challenging.
yeah,
Just stepping into your divine feminine when you've worked so long in your divine masculine or when you were out of balance with that thing.
yeah.
It's like a
People
thing
don't
that
always understand where the balance lines are because let's face it, when we're born, we don't come with a handbook. Okay, so I was in the coffee shop. I had a meeting, doing some work. I do coffee chats in person when I can, as opposed to being online because
is
some
so,
people like doing it old
see, that's
fashioned.
so
So
cool.
if anybody's local to me, yes, I do coffee chats,
So
and we can
cool.
do them in person.
That's so
But
cool.
when I had gotten done with my chat and I decided to get a little work done while I was there and finishing up my cup of tea because I'm a tea person and not a coffee person,
Me too.
I overheard these two gentlemen talking about neuroscience, which is a rabbit hole I have always enjoyed. If it's about the brain and how it works, I fall down little rabbit holes here and there and everywhere to get information
I got a
because,
friend I'm gonna connect you with.
okay, sounds fun.
Y'all would geek out.
I'm a total geek. I'm a
Mhm.
nerd. I'm a geek.
Yeah.
I admit it. When I heard them talking about this, I apologized for interrupting their conversation and asked him if he studied neuroscientist. And it turns out he was a neuroscience professor at the local university. And so I said, I have a question for you, if you don't mind talking shop. And he said, sure. So we fell down the neuroscience rabbit hole about human instinct because this is very valuable to the work that I do. Our instincts are critical, but I found out something very interesting. Human beings are born with one instinct,
Oh,
just one. And that instinct
is it
is
survival?
self love.
Oh, self-love. Okay.
It's self love. Now, some scientists, they're still arguing over terminology. Some call it self preservation, some call it
Observation.
verifying, some call
Yes.
it this, some call it that. And I started laughing and I said, I will have to disagree with you on terminology because he said technically it was a fear of falling. And he said, I am a neuroscientist. I said, I understand that. I said, but human beings, the way you are describing what this instinct is, it tells me that this instinct that a human being is born with is self love. I said, so from a scientific standpoint, why do you think what you think? He told me, I said, okay. I said, let me tell you why I think it's self love. I said, when a baby is born and that baby cries, that baby isn't crying out of fear. That baby is crying to communicate, I have needs, who's taking care of them.
Yes.
True or false? And he's technically that's true. And I'm like, okay. I said, so if technically that it's true, then how would it not be self love? I said, because what the baby is doing is communicating, okay, who's my caregiver? Who's feeding me? Who's making sure I'm clean? Who's making sure I'm dry? Who's making sure I'm nurtured? Who's making sure I'm loved? Because these are all baby requirements. Babies think on a universal time scale, not a human time scale. Their soul just came from the purest place in the universe.
Yeah.
And so they're basically saying, hey, here's a list of baby requirements. Who's up? They're literally asking you, here's a
Mhm.
list.
Yeah.
Who's taking care of it? Okay. So that is self love because it's like, here's what I need to grow and to thrive and to exist in my best version of life. Who wants the position? This is what they're asking mom. This is what they're asking dad. Everybody that's within earshot of that initial, I'm here squeak that a baby lets out is saying, here I am. Who's taking care of me? I got my list. Okay. A baby list is different from an adult list. Or is it? What are the things we need? We love ourselves if we've been taught. And the more that self love is nurtured from the day you're born, the more empowered of a life you live.
And that is a problem in our world.
But the solution is simple. Every child that's born, I'm so glad you love yourself. Love is unconditional. Sorry, people, the second you attach a condition to it, it's not love anymore. Love is unconditional. It starts in your own heart with loving yourself. Your internal communication with yourself matters because as soon as you nail it down for your internal communication for yourself, guess what happens in the world around you?
It expands.
It does.
It's
And
it's one of the most amazing things, this
it
love.
really is.
But the thing that I've found is that people don't know what that is.
You want to hear a funny side note on the
Even even
neuroscientist
when they get
story?
even when they get married,
Yeah,
they don't know what that is.
because people aren't taught what it is.
That's what I'm saying. It's
But
not
when I was talking to the neuroscientist, the friend that was with him was a lawyer.
okay.
And when we both presented our cases, he looked at his friend and I said, what is he looking at you for? I said, are you his lawyer or something? He said, I'm a lawyer. Yeah. I said, okay. I said, which case would you rather try in court? And he looked at his friend and he looked at me and then he looked straight down at the floor. He looked back up and with a very wry smile, he looked at his friend and he said, I'm sorry, buddy. She just beat you out in court. She won. She looked at it from the scientific point of view and you ignored the scientific point of view.
And it's
You explained it and then your whole basis was I'm the scientist, I'm right. She explained from a scientific point of view, here is what I'm hearing when you're saying this, and therefore this is my scientific conclusion. He said she just won in, she proved her point. And that was the lawyer talking. So if the lawyer can figure it,
yeah, because
and
we
some
all
of my friends are lawyers, I love them dearly.
I grew up with one, so I know
Yeah. But
there's
it's like
something.
the love that's in your own heart.
Yeah,
Look at how you talk to yourself.
yeah,
And the more you focus on something, the more that it's true for you.
this is true. So I'm
Okay.
so excited to be here with you, and we're going to be doing some more things.
Absolutely.
So we're going to land this plane today. I have
Yay.
one question that I ask every single one of my guests, and it is if there was anything in the world that you could change, what would that be and why?
To be honest, the
Yeah,
only thing that I would actually alter would be my own internal language more. And the reason for that is the better I make myself, the better I show up for everyone else. But for me, the key piece of that is we're all on our own journey. And while there are things that I would love to see changed in the world, I will always attempt to refrain from having the ego of being able to make other people's decisions for them. Everything that I do is about self empowerment, self love, self understanding to bring out all of the things that make us the absolute best version of who we are. And while I may wish that for everyone, I've no right to force it on anyone. I can offer it, I can sing it, I can share it, I can be impassioned when I talk about it. I can offer and offer. And when someone accepts, I'm delighted. But for me, it's about making the changes in myself that I am choosing to change in the world that I live in. Because the more empowered I make myself, the
Yeah.
better impact I have, not just on my own life, but all of the world around me. And
Yes.
so, to me, because of my belief that everything starts within, I would love myself a little better
Yeah.
and work on doing more.
Yeah. That's different. I've done over 300 interviews and I'm not gotten the same thing maybe twice. Got a few things that were similar, but that's the first time I've gotten one lady said she wouldn't change a thing. The one that stuck out to me the most was one young lady, she does human design, and she said that she would love it if we would have a welcome to Earth book for every baby with their
Be
human,
fun, wouldn't it?
with their human design and their natal chart and how to deal with them with their particular design and all this stuff so that people can be raised knowing and be able to raise them in the best possible way. And I thought that was so cool because
It's cool.
I am a reflector in human design and I raised manifester. And I think if I had those tools, I could have done a different job and I could have understood better. And I don't think I did a bad job, but I always think of things that could have improved. And I thought that was one of the most amazing answers to that question. And then another girl said the same thing. She said
Mm.
the same thing to have a Welcome to Earth book for the babies and have their natal chart and everything done and all that. I was like, that would be so freaking cool. I said, girl, why don't you offer that service?
But if you stop and think about it, isn't that what I just said?
It is. It is, but in a different way.
Well, all of us learn a little bit different.
Yeah.
And the thing about self love is once you really understand it, allow yourself to be truly empowered by it, the way the world shows up around you reflects it.
Yes. Abs. I like to think of it as once you get in that frequency, it just ain't nothing stopping you. I have this belief that there's nothing stopping me.
I grew up in Atlanta in the late 60s and early 70s. I had the best and worst of both worlds. I tell people, I joke about it. I grew up heaven and hell adjacent. It's like
Mhm.
literally, here was our house. I had heaven on this side and I had hell on the other. It was just a walk down the street. I saw both sides. I saw the best and worst of everything that a human being could be. And I chose very early, okay, there are some things that just aren't going to fly with me.
Yes.
And there was no niche at all
No.
for these types of businesses. And I literally founded Psi-Quanta when I was 15 years old.
And I wanted to ask you about that, but I didn't want this to be too long, and I know you have to go. But you know what? We're gonna do a follow-up interview, and
Absolutely.
we also are planning some workshops. So that is another thing.
If you ever want to just plan a workshop where we can
Yeah,
show the blending between the two things that we do, because what you do, Tammy, is so important.
yeah,
And the exercise that I showed you before we started,
yes.
yes.
I'm so amazed, and the more that I do this show, and I've been doing this show for, I don't even know, I need to sit down and figure it out. But I'm not one of those people that look at anniversaries. You see how people say, "Oh, I stopped smoking on this day and I did this on that day." I don't remember all that stuff. To me, it was never important for that. So I don't really remember, but I know I've been doing this show at least. I was doing it in Tucson,
Ooh,
and I left Tucson in the pandemic in 2020.
yeah.
I've been doing it so long, but I've talked to so many different individuals and people. And since I niched down into spiritual entrepreneurs primarily, it's been such an amazing time. And the shows have just gotten phenomenal. And not to mention, I'm geeking out every time I'm in the presence of greatness. I'm sizzling. So I just absolutely love it. And I'm so grateful when I get guests that come on that teach me because I'm a person that loves to learn anyway. And I know that there are 50 million ways of doing something.
Yes.
And just
Yes.
because you do it this way does not mean I have to do it that way.
Now we have another resource, and I can send some of my people that, like, no, I'm not the one you need, but hey, I got
Check it
Tammy.
out. And
It's
this is
like I told you earlier, I 90% of the people that come to me, I usually send to someone else.
And when you said that, I was going to tell you that blessed me so much because I have worked with people that I know I wasn't supposed to work with. I got to work. I was like, girl, these are not your people.
It's all about the connection. And if you stop and think about it, the whole reason that we are quote unquote spiritual entrepreneurs is so that we can help people find where they're fitting in.
Yeah,
We can help people find the people that are walking in the ways that they choose to walk. It's
yeah,
about allowing all of the paths and seeing where they connect.
yeah, yeah.
And I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's one of my taglines. I don't have any competition. I have coworkers.
I love that.
I am the very best at what I do. I founded this business in 1983. I was 15-year-old punk in high school and
Wait, when did you graduate high school?
17.
No, I mean, what year?
Oh, good Lord. You're asking me to remember a timeline. I'm not real good with time. I live on universal time instead
Okay,
of
you were
human time.
15 in 83.
So I was 15 in 1983. Yeah,
You sound like you graduated in
87,
1986, 87.
87.
I'm asking because I graduated in 1986.
Oh, okay.
That's why I said, wait, when did you graduate? 1583, that sounds about right.
Yeah. I was a 15-year-old kid in high school when I started my business. I created my own niche because it didn't exist.
But that was your journey.
It was.
I tell
And
people
I love it.
I tell
And
people
I
about the
have been
podcast.
challenged every step of the way.
Of
And I
course.
have taken every single one of those challenges and made them this nice, beautiful little stone that is just built me this beautiful path. And I love
Yeah, and
every minute of it.
that is so beautiful because I think about that. People ask me about podcasting, and I'm like, so I started before there were podcasting courses and
Yes.
podcasting networks and all this stuff. And I was like, no, God told me to start it.
Yep.
And I got instruction along the way.
Yep.
Start on Facebook Live, and that's how we started. And I would download them from Facebook and upload them to YouTube and put them on all these other places. And that's what I did because that's what God told me to do. Because I'm like,
Yep.
I'm not this is not my area. I like to talk to people. And like I said, I wanted to be a sports journalist because I could see myself standing up there like Jane Kennedy. That was my thing. But
Well, in a way, you are.
yeah,
The teams you're
yeah.
working with might maybe just aren't quite the ones you expected.
You know what I'm saying? It's just been such an evolution for me with this. And I do enjoy it so much. That's why I'm like, okay. And when I first started, I used to do 5 interviews in a day. I was like, what is wrong with you? And I couldn't figure out
Well, Lenny, there
I
was
was so
nothing wrong with you. It's
exhausted.
just the way the timing worked.
I'm that girl, but I was be so exhausted and spent because that's a lot of energies. And then it was not my spiritual entrepreneurs mostly. Few of them
Yeah.
would sprinkle in, but it was mostly just all kinds of other people. And then I had a publicist that used to send me people, but they just did all kinds of stuff, and it was neat. And I enjoyed those conversations, but I enjoy these ones way more.
You know what? If there is something that's of value, does it really matter where it comes from? You focus on the value and you go from there. And there are so many people. It's like if somebody is looking for a psychic medium, I tell them point blank, there's one name on my list. And I send them to Sybil Perry because she understands things on a level that a lot of people that I have noticed in her work just, and if she knows the person's not the right fit for her, guess what? Sybil's going to find the right fit for him because she's very good that way too.
Seeing
So
that,
there's a reason we create these networks of people. There's a reason that we're doing. If people are doing some things, I send them to Brandy. Now I can send some people to you. I can send people over here to, if they're interested in this other thing, I can send them over to Michelle Chin or Sunflower. It's just, The reason that I tell everybody I've got the golden Rolodex is I literally have the golden Rolodex because I know where to send people to get what they're looking for. And sometimes that's not me. They
Right.
just see me and they're like, oh, I'll start here. Guess what? I'm a great starting point. I'm a really great starting point because if I can help you, if what I have is what you're seeking, we have a synergistic fit. It's going to be easy breezy, lemon squeezy, and we're going to have a blast along the way. And you're going to be going, oh my God, why did I make this so complicated? It's so simple.
Yeah.
It's fun. On the other hand, you come to me and I know it's not a synergistic fit, and I'm listening to you talk. Guess what? I have entire directories with people and I look over these directories every week. I see who's new. I see who's doing what. I see who's got something coming up. And I can say, hey, have you seen this? This is going to be where you're going to find better answers than what I can give you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
It's fun, it's simple, and
It takes the imposter syndrome thing.
it
People
really
stop.
removes it. It takes it out of
Yes.
the equation because,
That thing is real. No matter where you are and what you are and all this other kind of stuff, it is a real thing. And
yeah.
once you realize it is, and then how to deal with it.
Oh, yeah. And I was getting ready to graduate, and I actually bought my first painting. A friend was having an art show, and I bought my first painting. And he's not an incredibly famous painter. He did some work that was popular in Colorado in the 80s, but I always worked hard. I made my own money. I did everything. And when I bought this painting, this one man that was at the gallery, just as I'm looking at the painting, and after I got done talking to the artist about why I bought it, this one man was looking at me as I was admiring the painting, and he said, it must be nice to spend all your parents' money.
Wow.
And I remember the whole thing about his energy just hit me in a way that at the time I was a lot more aggressive than I am now.
Yes, we all were.
And I'm 17 years old.
Yeah.
I'd already literally grown up heaven and hell adjacent. And
Hmm.
I remember just very calmly, because I was really furious, I wanted to slap him. I won't lie. I really did want his arrogance. It was just
Yeah.
like, how dare you? And I just very calmly, I took my hair, I went like this, and I turned and I looked at him and I said, I wouldn't know what that's, but I'm sure some people do. And I just turned back to my painting. He exploded. And he was like, how dare you talk to me like that? And I looked at him and I'm like, I wasn't the one that initiated the conversation. And I didn't move. I was just standing there and he started to get aggressive. And my mother had gone off somewhere. I don't even know where she was. And some people were watching it. And the artist started to do something. And his wife grabbed hold of him and she's, don't move. And but he's gonna, and he's not gonna do anything if he values his life. You leave that girl alone. She's got this. And he launched off on a tirade about being disrespectful to adults. And I'm just basically letting it go in one ear and out the other. And I'm like, God, this guy's an idiot. And when he finally ran out of breath, and I'm like, are you finally finished with your little tirade? I said, because you're actually making a scene and it's really quite rude. And he just looked at me in absolute horror. And I said, by the way, I said, I own my own businesses and I make my own money. I said, one of those businesses I built from scratch by myself when I was 15, 2 years ago. I said, just because you can't handle a young person who has an entrepreneurial spirit doesn't mean that you get to behave this way to people. I said, if you ever come across my space again, I'm calling a lawyer and I'm suing you for slander. And I just turned around and I walked away. I was really furious. I could have probably handled it a little better
You're
and all of
18.
that. The artist's wife came and found me and she's, honey, are you okay? And I'm like, I wanted to slap him. And she's, thank you for not slapping him. It was a good lesson for me because up until that point, I hadn't really been aware of how many people in my own circle were actually looking down on me
Yeah.
for being outside of the box they wanted to shove me into. And I actually years later had somebody ask me, honey, don't you, what box do you fit into? And I started laughing.
Why must we fit in a box?
And I'm like, box? What box? And she's everybody has a box. Everybody has a, and I'm like, oh, okay, sorry, I didn't realize you were one of those. And she was like, excuse me? And I'm like, you try to make everybody fit somewhere so that you can have this illusion of what the world is. I
Yeah.
said, I don't play into that. And if that's what you need, I said, I'm a good person to stay away from.
And
And
this,
she argued with me. Everybody's got a box. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you want to know what happened to my box? I said they never made it because they knew I'd shove it back at them on fire with an explosive inside, ready to detonate the universe. I don't have a box. She looked at me in absolute horror, started crying, and she was just like, oh my, and ran off. But everybody needs a box.
no, everybody doesn't
And I
need.
was just like, whatever. And believe it or not, that was at one of the first spiritual fairs that I attended.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, never know where it's going to show up.
You're like, oh my God. So we're going to land this plane. I am super excited that Joe has joined me to have this amazing discussion. I hope that you got something out of it. Those of you that are listening to it on wherever you're listening or watching it on Substack or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching it. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe and hit those downloads.
Honor your heart, everybody.
I was going to say last words.
Honor your heart.
And you can find her details will be in the show notes where you can click the spaces that she's in. What is the best place for people to connect with you?
I would honestly say go to my website. I provided you a link for my casual cuppas. Those are my free coffee chats because I really love, before I work with somebody, having a coffee chat because it lets me really listen to
Yes.
people and it allows me an understanding of not just where they are, but it gives me a chance to see what they're really creating for themselves. And it allows me to know what tools I have or that other people have that may work for them the most. So always connect with me in a free coffee chat first, and
Awesome.
we'll get you started.
Awesome. That's powerful. I absolutely have enjoyed this time. So again, thank you so much for watching, listening to Straight Out of Savannah, where the magic happens.
Thanks for having me, Tammy.
You are so
I
welcome.
look forward to working with you again.
Absolutely. Bye now.